So, welcome, Andy, to the Moments of Light podcast, where we're sharing people's stories have had light bulb moments and done something about them. You know, when many people have an idea and they do nothing with it, and then 2 years later they say, that was my idea. Why didn't I do that? But you're not one of these guys, are you? Because you've got a bit of get up and go. And I know you got a new book out, which is certainly how people, I guess, how people should go about their business in this day and age.
Well, I think we're all one of those guys in one way or another, and I'm sure there's lots of things I've thought I should do and not got around to doing. But equally, I'd like to think that most of the important things I have got around to doing at some point, and the books are an example of that.
Absolutely. So you started with, actually, one of your earlier books was actually had a very humorous title, didn't it, about bacon and eggs?
Building a business on bacon and eggs. Yeah.
Well, you've got to start on a good breakfast, haven't you?
Well, that's it. Yeah, it was all about running business breakfast meetings. So it seemed like a good start. And yeah, I think titles are really important with books. And, you know, my second book was called And Death Came Third.
That's a cracking title.
Yeah, well, people still ask me. You know, it jumps out. Funnily enough, that was about networking, as you know, and speaking in public.
Yeah.
And I gave a talk at a medical conference last week, and one of the speakers before me walked out in front of my banner for the book that said "And Death Came Third," and he just turned around to the organizer and he said, "Whose idea was that? Is that to make all the speakers feel better?"
Brilliant. So for people that haven't heard that story, then you just want to explain where the light bulb moment came for that title.
Yeah, it's just it was a survey in the New York Times where they asked people what they were most frightened of, and death came third. And the top two fears were walking into a room full of strangers and speaking in public.
Yeah. And why is that? Why do you think that? You know, because we're humans, we like speaking, we like talking, don't we? When we get to know people, why are those things so scary?
It's a fear of being judged. It's a fear of rejection, which actually, in those circumstances, in most business presentations or business networking, isn't the case. People aren't looking to judge you or reject you. They're looking to meet you, meet new people, learn, and find out interesting stuff. I think a lot of it reverts to our upbringing as well. You know. You know, what did your mum say to you? You know, whenever you went out when you were growing up, don't talk to strangers.
Yeah.
And I don't know about your school, but at my school, if you gave the wrong answer in class, you had a blackboard rubber go flying past your ear, and the rest of the class laughing at you. So it's probably not that surprising that we're not too keen on either of the two options.
And did you ever have that fear? And have you got over it yourself?
No, I still get nervous.
Yeah.
I you know, on both. I mean, I network. I don't network for a living, but I go to a lot of networking events as part of my job, and I speak in public as a key part of my living, and I still get nervous. You know, I'll walk into a room full of people I don't know, and I'll want my comfort zone, and it's the same when I speak. But I've learned how to rationalise those fears and the techniques to overcome them, and that's the key. And in terms of speaking, particularly, I learned how to channel the fear and treat it as excitement and channel the adrenaline to give you a big push forward. And also, I get nervous. I get worried if I don't get nervous because I'm not treating it seriously enough.
I'll go with you on that one, yeah. Because as you know, I've just started to do more and more talks, and everyone that I do, there's this sort of fear but once the first 5 minutes get out of the way, you're in the flow then, aren't you?
That's it. Yeah. The best advice I've ever had about speaking is know your opening.
Yeah.
If you know your opening and make one with impact, you flow from there. And I can't tell you the number of talks I give, and I speak on a very regular basis. And I sit there beforehand thinking, am I good enough? Will I bomb? Will they treat me seriously? And, you know, people who know me and have seen me speak will be amazed when I say that, because I've spoken all over the world, and, you know, I get a good response. But I still go through that every time. But it keeps me focused.
I know what you mean, yeah. With my talks at the moment, the question is, can I just check everyone's breathing? Otherwise, what I'm about to say doesn't actually work. Yeah. So where do you? So talking about breathing, so where do you get your inspiration from? Annie? What drives you? What sort of where do you get the cracking ideas for the book titles and your talks as well? Because I know you got quite a portfolio of talks that you do.
Yeah, I think what drives me more than anything else is a passion to see things done better. Having run a national network and see so many people waste the opportunity that such a network offers, and now working in bigger companies and seeing them treat networking almost in some cases with scorn. I want to see people use their networks, leverage their networks, build networks in a better way. Because if we all network and look to support each other, we move from a dog-eat-dog society to a supportive culture. Then it's better for everyone. People find the jobs that they want, they get the promotions that they want, they get the connections that they need, they get the sales that they want, they buy the services and the products that they need, and everyone wins. And I know win-win's a bit of a cliche these days, but it's not a bad situation to be in. So that drives me. I think there's something personally that drives me to be the best I can possibly be. Part of it, my upbringing. And I was bullied a lot at school, and I think that may be part of it as well. Wanting to prove myself, and I think above anything else, it's just the sheer pleasure I get when I see things work. When people feed back to me the difference that my advice has made to their career or to their business.
Well, I remember when I read the book about Death Came First. That was when I was just starting my career as a speaker, and just the title alone made me realise it's not that bad. It feels really bad at the time, and I know I had to go through a few barriers of sort of 12 people, then 20 people, then 50 people, then 100 people. Then you get over this sort of tipping point where you do get the nerves, but the numbers don't matter anymore. If you know what I mean.
No, I think the idea of the numbers of people is worse than the numbers of people.
Yeah.
If you talk about speaking, then it doesn't matter if you're speaking to one person or to 1,000 people.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. That may sound rather facetious, but it's actually the key point. Is I say to people, if you were saying the same thing to 3 people in a restaurant or in a pub, you wouldn't feel nervous. The only difference is you're standing up, and people don't answer you back.
Yes.
The floor's yours. There's no other difference. It's the rest is all in your mind.
Sure. And what would you say to people who have that fear of running dry, or just having that sort of stage fright where nothing comes out? Have you ever come across that sort of?
Yeah, I've seen people do it, but only if they haven't thought about what they want to say.
Yeah.
If you know what you want to say and you plan and you prepare, and you understand what follows what, then you should be fine. And the key to it is not to cram too much information into your memory. The key to it is to have a simple structure. So, for example, I've given a talk this morning that's all about why networking is so important for your career. And I knew my opening, I knew my ending, and then I knew that in the middle I was going to talk about networking to become better known, networking to become better equipped, networking to become better connected. That's all I need to know. I had no notes in front of me for
3 things.
3 things for a 2-hour talk.
Gotcha.
And then if you say to me, Andy, tell me about the importance of networking to become better known, I don't need to refer to notes to answer that question. Nor does anyone who's watching this have to do that for their business, because they know the answers.
Yeah.
So those 3 points are the questions that I want to answer in my talk.
Gotcha.
So I don't need notes. I just know these are the key points I'm going to cover.
And why would you use it to get better known?
Why would you? Well, I mean, if you want to succeed in business, you want to succeed in your career, you want people to be talking about you while you're doing other things, and you want them to be saying the things that you want. You want to be managing that.
Yes.
When you talked about Recommended, the book, which is all about referral strategy, most businesses' idea of a referral strategy is to do a good job and hope their customers talk about them.
Yeah.
But their customers don't talk about them if they do a good job. They talk about them if they do a bad job. They talk about them if they do an exceptional job. Not if a good job doesn't give a story. So if you don't manage what people say, you're more likely to have them say negative things than if it's positive, they just keep quiet. So it's about being in control of that, and it's whether it's for your business or whether it's for your career. Most promotions and most jobs are filled through what people say about you. If a job becomes vacant in a business, 2 people get together and they say, who do we like for this? So it's personal branding has become a key area of interest to a lot of business people and career people, and it's all about that. It's what people say about you, and don't you want to be in control of what people say about you rather than leave it to chance?
Gotcha. And this applies then, doesn't it, for somebody who's maybe a solopreneur, an author, speaker, that sort of thing, or somebody inside a business as well. It's equal for both.
or someone looking for a job and hasn't got one at the moment. You know, I've done work with charities for long-term unemployed.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same thing.
Gotcha. And then when you get it working, do you find that people go over some sort of tipping point, and all of a sudden a lovely cascade of opportunity comes their way?
Yeah, I think that that's natural. The more you talk to people, the more you build your network, the better you educate your network.
Yeah.
Then the more opportunities are going to come your way. You know, just before we started this call, I got a text from someone we both know saying, you know, the man from the Prudential is interested. Let's talk. You know, he's gone away and talked about me. And that's probably about the third or fourth one today that's happened like that. And it's because I'm networking all the time. I'm building relationships. I'm talking to people, and those people are looking for me because I also look out for them, and that's really, really key. That's really important.
Well,
so while we're having,
I'm going to give you a fifth one. Sorry. I'm just you talking. I've just got just in something you said before. When we finish this interview, I've got a referral for you.
Excellent.
It's crazy.
That's why it's not crazy. It's very sensible actually. But it's why you have these conversations. It's why you talk to people, and it's important that you're there to give to them, and you're supported, so that they know that you do the same for them.
Yeah.
And then it's about educating your network, and they recognise opportunities. And the key point is this: while we're having this conversation, we can't be doing anything else for our business. We're just having this conversation, but other people can be. So at this very moment, hopefully there's someone in my network or there's someone in your network talking to someone else about us. And that'll convert into an opportunity. And that's how you multitask in today's business environment. You don't leave it all to yourself.
But also post this interview, this is going to end up on my blog, so people that don't know you will find out about you. So and without me actually talking about you, because we're doing this on replay, people are finding out about you and your books and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
which is, I guess, then the essence of recommended, isn't it?
Well, the essence of recommended, yes. I mean, I think the fact that you've asked me if I would do this interview because you know that hopefully I've got something of value to offer to your listeners and viewers, and for me, it's good to get the word out there. It's good for people to know who I am and what I do. I can't sit in my cave the whole time and hope people come and find me. I would say that this interview is more general marketing from my perspective, in that sense. But at the same time, working with you again, we haven't spoken for a little while. Rekindling that relationship, has sparked the thought of a referral in your mind. You have to keep talking to people. It's no good just meeting them, exchanging cards and hoping. If we hadn't been having this conversation now, you wouldn't have thought about that referral. So you have to stay in touch with people and keep talking.
Yeah, and it was something you just slipped into one of the sentences before, which I just picked up on, which is kind of interesting. Because had I met you in a big networking group and people were talking about loads of different things, it might not not just come up at all.
No, it's those in-depth conversations that make a big difference.
Gotcha.
There's a perception of networking as being all about networking events. It's what I call the networking myth. Networking myth being, I need business, I'll go to an event and meet prospects. You just get a room full of people who are dancing with each other, exchanging elevator pitches, and you don't get relationships. When you go to networking events, you're looking, or you should be looking, for people with whom you can build more of a relationship. And if you can build that relationship, from there, the opportunities start to come. And that happens outside the event.
Gotcha. So this idea that it's a hunter-gatherer environment, and I'm going out to this networking meeting, and I've got to come away with some sales or some sales leads, kind of doesn't work anymore.
I don't think it ever did. Really. I mean, what you end up with is a room full of people who are looking for prospects and no actual prospects.
Yes.
No one in buying mode.
Yes.
And the best analogy, and it's commonly used, is that networking isn't about hunting; it's about farming.
Yes.
That's sowing seeds so that you can reap the rewards later on. Of course, if you go out hunting, once you've eaten your prey, that's it. But if you farm, if you sow the seeds, you can, you can enjoy the rewards time and time and time again.
So it's just mindset, isn't it?
Yes, it's mindset, strategy, which is my key focus, and an understanding of the right approach. And what I touched on before, and is very important, is a willingness to help other people rather than just focus on the help you can get yourself. Because
Gotcha.
if everyone's just out in it for themselves, then there's nowhere to get that support from.
And is it important that helping other people is also unrequited?
Uh, when you say is it important that it's unrequited, can you explain the question?
I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you as soon as this call's finished.
Yeah.
I don't expect anything back from
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I think the reason I got confused is you said, is it important that it's unrequited? I think that if it is reciprocated, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't expect reciprocation.
No.
And it may well be that you help me with this referral because you can, but you know that I might help someone else, and they might help someone else, and someone else might help you, and it's a much bigger picture than the two of us.
That the chain will knock back eventually. Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Wonderful.
and it may not be from me; it may be from someone else. Of course, you know that if you give me a referral, I will, if I'm the right type of personality, I'll take on that burden of reciprocity myself.
Yes.
I'll want to help you back. But you don't expect that of me, nor do you demand it of me.
Gotcha. Yeah. So these are all pretty basic rules, aren't they? But when we're in this sort of cut and thrust world where we've got to put, food on a plate and pay mortgage and stuff like that, do you find that some of it goes out the window, even though in your heart, you might know this is the way it should be?
A lot of it goes out the window for most people, and I must be honest, I don't do everything the right way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I do my best, but we're all human, and we all succumb to pressure and so forth.
Yeah.
But it's an understanding of what's right and the right approach, and a culture and an ethic and an attitude, as you mentioned, about doing the right things that comes across. And in some cases, it's the macro picture rather than the micro picture, if that makes sense.
Right. So. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are there any kind of guidelines and rules for how much networking you could do compared with how much work you should be doing, how many times you should be giving out compared to what comes back or anything like that?
Yeah, I think it's got to be as natural as possible.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the time you invested in networking, you've got to understand what your return on investment is, so that you don't just spend your time going to lots of networking events and getting nothing for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to understand what you can commit, because if, for example, I've had times where I've stopped going to networking events or purposely not network with new people because I knew I couldn't follow up because my diary over the next week or two would stop that happening. And in fact, now I'm in the position where I don't go with the purpose, particularly of meeting new people. I go for the purpose of reinvigorating and deepening existing relationships, because it's what I can cope with. I know that I will meet new people as a result of that activity, but it's not my primary driver anymore. So you understand what's right for you and then what you need to invest into that. In terms of the time you spend, look at the time you'll save by networking and networking effectively. So if, for example, I talk about networking to become better equipped, to get the support that you need, if by taking someone in your network out for a dinner or for lunch or for coffee and asking for their ideas and asking for some support, if that helps you find a more effective and time efficient way of doing something, then that hour you've invested might be worth 8 hours saved. I've just this weekend was the Professional Speakers Association annual convention. Now, I haven't been for the last 3 years because of time. When it falls, I do tend to be quite busy. And as with this year, I was speaking right up to the convention and I'm speaking straight after the convention.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of information to take in. But this year I went, but I only went for a day and a half rather than the full 3 days. And I got a lot out of that, a tremendous amount that, a one hour meeting alone could lead to a transformation in the way I approach one of my programs that will up my game substantially. And potentially a lot of referrals. Now, I would argue that day and a half was justified by that 1 hour meeting, and the outcome and the impact on my business will mean it's all been worthwhile. But I also know that if I'd have spent the whole 3 days there, I wouldn't have delivered a good talk this morning because I'd have been absolutely exhausted. So you have to get the balance right.
Sure. What's important there as well, you're somebody that's doing very well for themselves. You're in the game that you're in, you're up there, but still you're looking to improve.
Always.
Yeah.
I've always said since I've been doing this, that the day I stop learning is the day I should stop doing this.
Wonderful. Andy, well, listen, talking about time, thanks so much for giving me the time today. Great to talk to you. How can people best get hold of you and get hold of the books?
Well, first of all, it's been a pleasure, and thanks for inviting me onto the show, Tom. In terms of the books, we have websites for the books. So, excuse me, recommended is recommendedthebook.com. And Death Came Third is at anddeathcamethird.com. And both books, as well as the Kindle edition of And Death Came Third and the first book, Building a Business on Bacon and Eggs, are all available on Amazon. If you search my name on Amazon, they'll come up, and you'll also find my author page there. Great. And generally, I have a website, as everyone does, I hope, which is Lopata, Lopata.co.uk. And on that site, if people want, there's a resources section with lots of free stuff. Hopefully we'll put this interview on there as well.
Right.
But there are webinars, interviews, blogs, videos, etc. And there's also a 3 weekly e-zine that I send out for free that people can sign up to on the website.
Fabulous, and I'll make sure that we put all the links below this video too when we post it. Great, a real pleasure to speak to you today, Andy, and I just hope you never stop learning, because that's got to be a good sign too.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thank you very much, Tom.
We'll speak soon.
Cheers.
Bye.